Electricity. Why Ken's wrong. Electricity has been a challenge for scientists to explain and harness for millennia. Find out how none of that deters Ken Wheeler from inventing his own, completely inaccurate, misconception of how electrical charge and current work. Science defines electricity as electric charge and its effect on matter. People have experienced electricity from time immemorial, from electric eels to static cling. Electric charge comes from subatomic particles. The charge is negative for electrons and positive for protons. The movement of electric charge through matter is electric current. Electrons flow through some substances called conductors, like copper or gold. They can't flow through substances called insulators, like glass. Substances like silicon fall somewhere in between, and we call them semiconductors. Ken Wheeler doesn't like any of these ideas one bit. The reason he gives is that they involve electrons, which he claims don't exist. In his document Fields, the creator of Theoria Apophasis tells us that the two components of the electric field are the magnetic and the dielectric. Electricity is a compound cyclic field modality composed of both components of the primordial conjugate fields. Electric currents consist of moving electrons, which generate a magnetic field around the conductor. The YouTuber behind Theoria Apophasis also claims that electricity is the consubstantial field modality of dielectricity and magnetism. By field modality, he's referring to his own idiosyncratic definition of a field as an ether perturbation modality. As we explain under field theory why Ken's wrong, back in 1887, Michelson and Morley found that the ether doesn't exist. Charles Proteus Steinmetz, who Kentucky Ken calls one of the gods of field theory, called the ether hypothesis a mistake. J.J. Thomson discovered electrons in the same year as Michelson and Morley's experiment. This discovery won him the Nobel Prize. In 2008, scientists at the Lund University Faculty of Engineering in Sweden captured an electron on film for the first time. Ken Wheeler calls the concept of a charge-carrying particle a clown car, because in his mind, a particle can't carry a charge or anything else. An electron's negative charge is an inherent property. Electrons don't carry a charge, the way the Theoria Apophasis host hauls his horde of gadgets to the cabin. Ken Wheeler tries to refute electrons' existence by pointing to wireless power induction. That's the technology we use for charging smartphones and watches and electric toothbrushes. Engineers create wireless power induction by generating a magnetic field. The transmitter draws electricity from a wall socket, and the resulting current causes an electromagnetic field of electrons. The field's voltage creates a new flow of electrons inside the receiving device. That current flows toward the receiver's electrical load, usually its internal battery charger. So wireless power induction proves the existence of electrons rather than refuting it. When challenged on this, the angry photographer insists that scientists still can't explain wireless power induction in a vacuum. If wireless power induction couldn't work in a vacuum, old-fashioned vacuum tubes wouldn't work, and nobody would have invented any electronic devices. Electromagnetic fields can exist in vacuums, and they don't need a medium like the ether to propagate. Batteries are another increasingly vital aspect of electricity. They contain cells of electrolytes that convert chemical energy into electrons and store that electrical energy for later use. The angry photographer claims that a battery is the division of a unit of energy from counter space that is divided spatially. According to the Theoria Apophasis host, all energy wants to vanish down a hole. Since energy can neither be created nor destroyed, it has no way of vanishing, down an invisible hole, or in any other way. The creator of theoria apophasis also insists that AC generators don't generate electricity. He claims it's impossible to convert water flow into power, and that there's no direct conversion from water or wind or hydroelectric into power. Power stations use a rotating turbine to force a powerful electromagnet to turn on its axis. The rotation drives the poles of the magnet past conductive wire. Electrical generators do indeed use energy like water flow or steam to power the turbine, converting mechanical energy into electric power. They do this because of electron particles, without which we'd all be freezing in the dark. There's a reason Ken Wheeler refuses to accept that electric current is the flow of electrons through a conductive material. The angry photographer has latched onto the distinction between two metaphysical schools of thought in the ancient world. The YouTuber behind theoria apophasis sides with Plato, who was an idealist, against Epicurus, who was a materialist. By sheer coincidence, Plato believed in the ether, while Epicurus believed in atoms. Kentucky Ken is on Team Plato because Plato believed in the afterlife and Epicurus didn't. None of this remotely relates to modern science, which Ken Wheeler views as a vast conspiracy. It's beyond ironic that despite his obsession with electronic gadgets and generating his own power to go off the electrical grid, Ken Wheeler is completely in the dark about the fundamentals of electricity. There's not a particle of truth to any of his peculiar notions about electric charge and current.